The cold in the mountain dissipates as summer takes a hold of it. Welcome to the Northern League of Legends Championships 2024 Summer Split. My name is Alexandre Asharon-Maya. I will be your host, and it's with such great pleasure that we are back doing this. Let's introduce the desk for today. We have the return of Initialize and Duckling. Welcome, folks. I hope you're doing fine. A lot of seriousness in your faces after what we just debated, let's be honest.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like, to be fair, like we did a little rehearsal before this, and we just spent most of it just like being mean to Duckling, which I think is kind of like the NLC national sport at this time. There's a lot to kind of like bully him about.
What do you? The thing is, it's so crazy.
There you go.
Getting all this hate. It's just UK folks. Like, they should worry about their own problems, you know? They still have loads to worry about.
Like, I'm just hearing a lot of projecting, mate. You've got to, like,
a
let
lot
go
of
of
projecting.
the hate. It would be so much easier to not bully you if you didn't get, like, this, you know? Just got to let it go, man. Come on.
The thing is, though, it does feel good to be back. I have missed this. I've missed the energy. I've missed the vibe. I've missed spending time with you folks. And I can't wait to see how all our new teams do.
Exactly, but not only that, we also have the people casting for today's game. So jumping into the Summoner's Rift, and the voices who are going to be casting it, it's going to be Hiprain and Foxdrop. Welcome back, gentlemen.
Hello, how you doing? It's been a hot minute since I've seen your face. Good. Look at him. Look at that jawline.
It does look quite swell.
Oh, he's such a beautiful man. Look at him.
You're no longer single. What are you doing?
I'm allowed to compliment a bro. Am I not?
Yeah, come on, Archer. What's up with
You
that?
can go to the gym. Give us a flex. Come on, let's see.
Nah.
Come on, let's see
I'm
those
working on
biceps.
the Pantin vibe, okay? I'm shy. I'm camera shy, you know. Foxdrop, tell me, what have you done? Please take away the spotlight.
What have I done?
Yes.
In general, what have I done? Or am I
Well, that sounds lovely. Back to the desk. Let's go.
Cool.
He'll flex at the end of the season. He'll flex.
So let's jump. Give me my desk. Give me my desk back. Good luck in the Summoner's Rift, and we're back into the desk. Initialize
Everyone
Duckling.
back at home. You got to understand, this is a man who spends most of his life in the gym. I watched him max out the weight on the fly machine the other week. I saw that on your Instagram, mate. So, you know, just have a little bit more pride. Oh, that's it. Yeah, he's quite proud of himself, I'm just saying.
Thank you.
When's the
Thank you.
Pantheon cosplay?
Well, I'm telling you, I'm going to reveal it after the schedule for today. So what is the menu? We're going to start with Venom Crest versus Verdant, followed up by DMG versus Lightside. Nord will take on Natives, and we have the new team Blue Whites versus Ready. So that will be the last game of the day. All these times are CST time zone. Keep in mind that Blue Whites are going to take the place of Lions Creed, and for further knowledge about that situation, please head on to our social media so you can understand what happened. But the most important part is we have a new team, and that is really interesting. They're going to be promoted from Division 2, and we'll talk about them later on. The game of the day will be North versus Natives. We were highlighting that one, and can you folks tell me why this should be the game of the day?
I think with all the roster changes that has happened, one of the teams to, on paper, have come out on top is certainly Nord. Obviously, keeping Romeo and Nila are two massive Ws, but I think they've got an interesting rookie in Alex coming in, while Hunt and Ecstasy now get their NLC Division 1 debuts, but two story players outside in other ERL Division 1. So, in short, they look like one of our strongest teams, while Natives, on the other hand, is one of the biggest question marks I think we have, with so many unproven talents. And then in the mid lane, we have one of the best mids in our league in Painful. So, surely he wouldn't have joined this team if this talent couldn't live up to expectation. And I'm very excited to see what the 4 unknown factors will look like on Natives.
Initialize, this is really interesting. I don't know if you folks back at home saw this, but we had the video with all the coaches and even CEO Don Jake about what we can expect from these teams going through the split. And Initialize, it's mostly new players, like rookies. We bring in Painful and other names that we've known before, like Romeo, for instance. But it's really interesting that we're jumping into a lot of rookies and promoting new talent as well.
I think that's fair, and I think a lot of that as well is some of these teams brought together rosters with a little bit more veterancy, and it didn't work out in the way they were hoping for, so they're trying for something a little bit fresh, and some of these names should be really exciting to you. I mean, obviously, Duckling did call out Painful, had a really good split over on Venomcrest. A player like Hunt as well, who has played for teams like Savannah Svesta, has played over for Rad over in the Arabian League as well, has found success elsewhere, so you've still got some of these players with a fair amount of experience, but have yet to really hit some of the Div 1 experience over here in the NLC, alongside some really, really fresh rookies. So I think it should be very exciting to follow exactly what the relative levels will be, because once again, it's a lot of teams with a lot of new faces, and we're not as certain once more about where the power levels were, because we tried that last split and ended up being quite wrong, quite fast.
You know what? I like the way you put it, because we have no idea what's going to happen. A lot of new names and bringing back some new names. Duckling, you're going to talk about that further on, about the veterans that are coming back into the league and the names that are being promoted. So not understanding what's going to happen in these games makes the next segment even more juicer. Predictions. It is chaotic to the fullest, and let's see where we're landing our points on. So through the splits, we're going to be doing some predictions as we move forward, and then we'll joke about each other by failing, and Foxdrop will eventually win. So that is my understanding of how this works. You guys want to see predictions? Well, let's hit with the predictions right now to understand where we put our points on. I don't know. Most of people should have went for the stable ones, I think, Initializing Duckling. And we still don't have it quite ready. I just want to promote the idea that we're going to see that eventually as we move forward into this one. And as we're jumping into the first day of Summer Split 2024, it's interesting to see that we also have a lot of changes in the Summer's Rift as well. Initializing Duckling, I made a question before we jumped into live to what should be the things that we should be discussing as we jump into this desk. And you folks brought me 3 champions. Initialize.
We did, because obviously one of the big things that's happened over the break since MSI is we've had a lot of shifts in terms of the relative power of champions and items, and there are 3 champions in particular that I want to call out. Anybody who's been following a little bit of the LPL, which is going to be the first region to really come back after the break, will have noted a few champions that have been smashing heads in various different ways, and those are namely Corki, Karthus, and Skarner. I'll start with Skarner, because obviously that's the new big rework. He's now an Ixtalian champion. He's gone from being purple to being some big grey stone monstrosity. And he's not a jungler so much anymore. He's been up in the top lane. And to put it bluntly, he's kind of New Age Cassante with the most obscene amount of 8 damage, weirdly, and also just huge CC chains. He is so obnoxious to manage right now. A lot of first pickable power towards his champion right now.
Yeah,
so
and
that's
I think
going to take the first one. Duckling, tell me.
Yeah, he obviously is kind of exciting. The changes and that is all good. But one thing that I've personally been hyped, and one of the things that's really got me excited on League of Legends again, the revert of Corki. I'm so excited to see him back in, I think, 5-6 years ago when he was more an AD carry. Still played in the mid lane, but you build him very differently now. They've removed the AP scaling. He's no longer this full-on poke champ with the rockets. Now you only have 4 rockets, and yes, they still do some damage, but it's not the point of your build anymore. You're going towards these more AD carry itemizations. I think there's still space to be found out the best build for Corki. Personally, I prefer going the crit route alongside a Trinity Force, but I did see in the LPL today, some of them started building Opportunity and going a bit more lethality first item.
The lethality is pretty
so
too.
I'm excited to see how that's going to play out, or to see which side of the coin it lands on. But I think it's really exciting to have him back to this more auto-attacking, and I think importantly as well, it removes the boring matchups, and I see a Corki being completely relevant around the meta.
Yeah, it's interesting because you remove that AP or almost take it off and you bring more AD. So that means he can be part of different sort of equations, right? So in team fights, Corki is not going to be the same as before, but the poke is still there, right?
Yeah, so it's definitely a bit different, because the thing is, like, the package is no longer there, which was obviously a huge point of power around a lot of those objectives. But you're still doing a lot of work, namely with like a lot of Sheen proccing if you're going the crit route, or just the ability to Valkyrie forward and then Gatling gun people down with a lethality is absolutely foul with the armor shred. And so we are still seeing him, but he's more in the vein of something like a Tristana or a Jace maybe from the mid lane. And actually that does mean that because he's kind of moved towards AD, and actually a lot of the staple control mages are feeling a little bit lackluster at the minute, we are seeing more AD mid laners for the first time in quite a while. And what that has conversely meant is, well, where are we getting AP from now in the draft? And that's been a really interesting question to answer, because we're seeing a lot of people try and find that from the jungle in particular. especially with Blackfire Torch, the new item coming on through, which is absolutely ridiculous for a number of those power farming AP junglers, namely Karthus. People are 1-2ing on red side Tristana Karthus right now because you get a lot of stuff with the Tristana, which allows Karthus to go in and theoretically just farm away enemy jungle camps. And then you hit a point where someone like a Kai'Sa, someone like a Corki, someone like a Tristana jumps on forwards, and Karthus gets to press R on top of that. The lethality burst is absolutely foul from just in terms of that mixed damage. And Blackfire Torch, on top of that, is a huge part of why that's happening, because that item is so good, not only as a component, but as a completed item for farming away towards a lot of jungle times. And anybody who builds burn items as an AP jungler is feeling really, really good with that. So Lilia, as well as people like Karthus, we kind of been highlighting.
Yeah, I was looking into that one specifically. The Lilia is such an interesting champion, even for solo queue, for people who are trying to understand where they should pick the champions. For the jungle, go for the Lilia. It's so powerful right now. It's on the OP side of the champion pick. There you go. There's a lot of ideas jumping into the jungle. So it seems like this new meta brings a lot of new flavor into the Rift. It's a different sort of new season, let's call it, for everybody, right, Duckling?
Yeah, it is a new season for everybody. Yeah, I'm really excited to see how our league shapes up as well. I think with the amount of rookies we've got coming in, I think our league is also changing its image a bit. We had, obviously this is now a few years ago, but our league was very much dominated by, the big two UK orchestra academies, spending big, buying big name players. And I think more and more we are going away from that image of buying big players and now more buying, undervalued talent and improving them and then sending them out into the big heroes like the French, like the LVP. And I'm really, really happy that we're getting to see more of our NLC Div 2 players step up, just showing that our ecosystem at the moment works.
So you know what? That brings another one into the table. The fact that now you can play your own fantasy league back at home. Head on to our social media to understand how you can sign up for this one. Summer Split Fantasy League. Look at this. We actually have sand in the mountain. I was just saying, this is weird and I love it. So if you want to play Fantasy League for NLC, head on to our social media and sign up. So I understand you don't have a lot of knowledge about these new players. So that's why today is quite so important to understand how the tables are going to be met, how the teams are going to present their players, and what sort of meta is going to be brought into the summoners. Most of the coaches that I talked with, and it was a pleasure to talk with them, brought in one thing. They want chaos, they want to be unpredictable, and also specifically what you just said, Duckling. They want to bring their own talent. And I gotta make this question for both of you. Don't you feel like this is a sign of what a lot of people did back before, but also from what Don Jake did with Ruddy, believing in new talent, building some sort of like a family, like a big group, and say, we don't need the big names. We can make the big names. And now we're giving a highlight to a lot of new players that were hungry for this spot.
I think
just bringing in chaos. I love it.
No, I think there's some truth there, but I think it's also paired up with things like for the likes of Ruddy. Yeah, I think Jake was really vocal about the scouting they did to bring in the likes of Alex in particular, a number of those other names that really turned up. But it was also things like having Wolverine come in, who had an idea about how we wanted to train these players who were very talented, had very distinct ways they wanted to play the game, but then getting them on board together to play as a unit and play a style that a lot of other people weren't playing was really good. I think I'd also highlight a team like Venom Crest as well, who last split came up from Div 2, yes, changed around a few players, but then had that really distinctive style with the Viegos and the Pikes and that really kind of coherent game plan to facilitate some playstyles and champions and players who maybe weren't playing the widest kind of standard League of Legends. They were playing a little bit more narrow, a little bit more focused, and really making it work. And I think that can be a very exciting way to play the game, especially if you've got players who you can enable to do that.
You know what? That's exactly what I wanted to reach into. So you have a lot of new talent, but you have to bring someone that can hold them and say, hey, we don't need to fight. Listen to my experience and bring in the fresh blood. We can all bring that up into a big cooking and make the best dish that we have. And NLC will rise with that one. And also with the new team, Blue White, Duckling, I know you have a lot of information about them. I would like to give them a little bit of a highlight because nobody knows who they are. They come in from Division 2. Who are they, Duckling? Tell me. Because I know you're quite friends with them. Let's call it this way.
Yeah. So I did, this is honestly back in the day, I did used to actually cast regularly in the Finnish League for a few years ago. Actually, a handful of years ago. Crazy to think that I'm starting to become that old now. Regardless, though, the main point is Blue White. is a
21
team
years.
of. I'm not even 21, buddy. I'm 20.
See? I'm old. I'm
The main
20.
point is, though, Blue Whites is a long-standing Finnish organization, and someone in particular I want to point out on this full Finnish roster, by the way, which I really like. You know, a one-nation roster, really fun to see in NLC Division 1. Pomo in the mid lane has been a long-standing member. Yes, he's had stints away from the team, but he's been probably one of the longest-standing players. If you look over the past few years, he was always good in the Finnish league, but he hasn't had the chance to step up into an ERL Div 1. I'm excited to see if he can make the cut. And that kind of ties into this whole team as well, because they don't have the highest solo queue ranks. They're not one you can say, yeah, we have 5k LP in total in solo queue when you combine our ranks. They are bigger than the sum of their individual parts, and they work together best. That's kind of been the trend for Finnish League of Legends, and we've seen it in the NLC RPS as well, where the teams don't succeed thanks to one player smurfing, but the whole team playing coordinated and good League of Legends together. And it's not just the trend of Blue Whites, but it's the trend of the entire Finnish League of Legends scene. And I'm really excited to see if Blue Whites can make that work here on the NLC Div 1 stage.
So new fights joining in to the NLC Division 1. They were on Division 2. I also heard they're really powerful moving through the split, not at the beginning of it. So let's see how the best of one is going to hit them as well as they face this new challenge, which is the big part of the mountain. Also, we're going to start with Venom Crest versus Verdant. I just received some sort of information that I didn't quite get. It was too fast.
Game's going to be slightly delayed, unfortunately.
Okay,
Ooh,
so it's a
nice.
slight delayed, which means we can talk a little bit more about these teams. Let's hit with Venom Crest and Verdant. I'm not going to be biased. On one side, Venom Crest are bringing in Lenny, for instance. They have a lot of power in that team. On the other side, Verdant have Komski. He's Portuguese. I'm not biased. I'm just saying they're going to win it all. EMEA, be careful. It's done. But I'm not biased. He's the support, by the way, so he's going to carry the game. I don't know how, but I'm just bringing in the
I think this game will be close. I just want to say as well, personally, I have Lenny on my fantasy roster there for the NLC. Obviously,
Very good.
Lenny is the big thing you can see here on the Venom Crest roster. If you watched our region last bit, no doubt you know about this guy. But also, I want to turn my attention to Lingard in particular. This guy has had quite a bit of success as well. Been to EMEA Masters twice, second place in GLL, second place in PG Nationals. Some ERLs that I would say are pretty much the same level as the NLC is currently. So certainly should be at top of the level here. And then they've brought in a heavy veteran in Simbi, who's played League of Legends pretty much for as long as I've existed, competitively as well. So what I like is you've taken two pretty unknown, unproven factors in Fierce and Theocas, who will now have to be teamed up with some veterancy who can now lead this team into the NLC era. And I'm excited to see how they perform. I think they should be... To me, they could contest playoffs, but it's hard to say because with every roster changing, it's hard to say how the strength is. But I think this roster certainly has the potential to fight for those top half spots.
It's an entire new phase for the NLC, no matter what team you look into. Even Ready, for instance, were so powerful, let's be honest, they were so powerful. They also made some changes. On Verdant, we already talked a little bit about it, but Harbo, for instance, I know you wanted to talk about Harbo as well, Duckling. Another one that I need to highlight, X-Drop, is another player that played in the Portuguese league. He also played, for instance, in Lions Creed in 2021. So he brings a lot of experience. He jumps into this one like, hey, I'm kind of new at the NLC, what can we do? But he played with Komski as well, so that synergy of playing in the Portuguese league and knowing the other player, that brings a lot into the table because they're going to be paired in the bot lane. So all those little things are so important right now as the league has a new phase, right? Initialize.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And again, we are looking at a lot of new faces today, at least to the NLC. Some of these players have been around a little bit at various levels of play. But it will be a question about how quickly they can bind together and get things rolling. And, shout out to, like, Hush, of course, on the Verdant coaching team. He's someone I've known for very many years and really rated his thought process in terms of League of Legends in general, and some of those coaching staff moments I think are going to be pretty important to track out. People like Demby, people like Wolverine, people like, of course, from my end, are slightly biased, of course, from a friend perspective, but Hush, right? These guys have got to do quite a lot of work to get players on the same team early, or same page early, especially when you are running with people who maybe have mixed levels of experience, and that can often be, particularly early on into the split, about a coaching staff trying to get at least a few ways to play on paper early so those teams can work.
Yeah, I I'm excited for this game, not only for returning faces on this Verdant roster. You just talked about the bot lane there, Asham. I'm going to get to Harbo later, but I just also want to add that I'm really excited to see Shihan back in our ERL. He played here last year in Ruddy, made playoffs. His Darius was fun to watch. It's the guy who got the PC from Kedron a few years ago, talking about his dreams of going into competitive League of Legends, and I think I'm excited to see how he has developed over the past year since we've last seen him. So really excited to have him back. But the main point I want to say about this Verdant roster is the faith that they are putting in Harbo, starting him as the mid laner while Erol is on the bench, who I rate as one of the best mid laners in our league, personally speaking. I think at the very least he has some champions that is up there. Then putting in Harbo before him is such a sign of faith that I'm really excited to see if Harbo can live up to that. Because I think he'll be sweating a bit if he doesn't perform the first few games, because Erol is sitting right on the bench, who can certainly compete at this level. So I want to see Harbo take over the league here, show why he's the number one mid laner on this team, and I'm really excited to see if he can step up.
I think mid lane is a place that we need to highlight in our league. I was taking a look into all the names we have. The big names that stayed behind, that stayed in the league, are in the mid lane. For instance, Painful, when you look into natives, is another big name that is staying in the mid lane. Alex from Ruddy stayed with the team. But when you're talking about the top lane for Verdant, the fact that he got the PC from Cadril, should we make a deal that if he lands on the bottom 4, he has to return the PC? If not, he needs an upgrade from Cadril. No. I'm building. If he stays on the top 4, Cadril has to bring him an update.
I'll message Mark now. I'll get him on this. Yeah, no, it'll be fine.
Get him in on this. Dude, the pressure when he plays then if he's about to lose his PC. Imagine they play tiebreaker for 4th place. The guy is playing for his whole PC. Either he gets a new one or he loses his pro career in one game.
Dude, that's the best you could get, I would say. I don't know. I just like chaos. Looking into DMG versus Lightside. It's a lot of new players as well. Yes, I was just getting some information as well. We did. But looking into the second game, DMG versus Lightside. DMG was on the rough spot in the previous split. They were the team that were like, hey, we can't win a single game. They were like Singularity back in the day in 2022. I don't know if you recall that one initialized.
Yeah.
It was a tough one. But they always brought in
again
smile.
recently.
Oh, you did?
I did. He was having fun.
Oh.
He's doing well.
We got some information. It seems like we're going to be able to resume with the big ban as soon as possible. The issue has been resolved. All the officials were working with the player to make sure he could get into the champion select. And as soon as we're able to jump into it, don't worry, you don't need to type in Coster start the game. We also want to see the first game. Hipbrain is annoyed. He wants to scream at video games, and that screams because he's like senior age. I don't know, Duckling. I don't know how you work with that age.
He's at the retirement home, probably.
Retirement. Okay.
I'm surprised you're out of the nursery, mate.
Yes.
Jesus Christ, man. Regardless, if we have like half a minute before the draft, I would love to quickly dip my toes into the light side versus DMG matchup. And I'm going to be focusing on the DMG side of things. It's no doubt about it. I've become good friends with the organization. They sent me a jersey for free. Shout out DMG. But I'm really excited for this roster. Not because I know many of the players. We obviously know Bucci from last split in the NLC. He was all right. I'm excited to see how he grows. But Devils, the new COO, has gotten in, and he had a lot of success in Denmark managing over there. So I'm excited to see how his roster building translates into NLC Division 1. More on that later, though, as I can see we've made our way into draft. So we're going to focus back on that, but I do think the second game will
exactly what we discussed about. Skarn is going to be removed. So far, he has a 100% participant presence in pretty much every single league. Corky is another one you highlighted. Talia received a little bit of a nerf in the previous patch, and Whey is also removed, so you have to go for creatine. What's the last one initialized?
I've made the whey protein joke a few too many times at this point to not notice that one. I wonder whether we'll see a Tristana last ban here, because otherwise I feel like Tristana is really, really strong right now. Your ability to go Kraken Slayer into Flickerblade, into either the Infedge or the Lord Doms feels really, really strong. You can pair it up with a lot of those AP junglers if you're feeling comfortable on them. There's that Tristana Harbor, there's that Tristana Lock. That shouldn't surprise anybody right now. That's going to be a staple.
You can go for that AP jungler right now if you wish, Duckling.
Yeah, that's exciting, right? We've got a lot of junglers open still. Only the Sin Sao taken away. Yes, Garner can still play in that position. So certainly up in the air here. I think the Tristana going that mid lane most likely, so opens up for Harbo to take his pick early on. Caitlyn, though, also one who's really benefited from the crit changes. Locking that in with the Ivern, I mean, genuinely, if you build this just focus on burst Caitlyn, you can two-shot opponents. That is not a joke, and with the Ivan shields as well, that just has a bit of extra damage on top if she buys that. He buys those ardent sensors. Yeah, that's a very strong second rotation. Interesting rotation, but very strong if it works out.
They tried to tweak the Caitlyn, but she's still that powerful. So if you have that mid lane AD, you bring in another Yordle initialize. And now, do you feel like this could be a flex, or this is stable? Like, oh, this is top
so you can
Ziggs
absolutely flex those two depending on who's feeling what. The other thing is getting the Ziggs in means you're less reliant on getting AP out of the jungle, and you can go towards something like the Sejuani, feeling a little less worried about finding that AP damage from somewhere else. Your range and siege now between a Tristana and a Ziggs feels pretty good, to be fair, but I suspect we'll be seeing something like another AD carry to go behind the Ivern. That's generally what we've seen when that champion's locked in. So good at empowering those ranged auto attackers, or anybody who wants to get access. Azir works kind of well with that as well as another ranged option, even if Azir right now isn't feeling as really busted as he was, say, before a lot of those item and champion reworks.
So, moving into the second ban phase. I mean, I think on the first rotation here, I really like what Verton have done. I think they secured good AP damage already, strong AD carry in the Caitlyn. It's a very easy to redraft, not much hidden here in terms of what Venom Curse is going on. I would genuinely like the thought of maybe just bringing the battle to the Caitlyn early on in the bot lane, throwing the Tristana down there, getting an engage support, and try and put it behind early. Although that is very risky to go for. I think Lingard and Simpy might be the two players who could pull that off. The Alistar ban though, and Luke's kind of spells that supports are being trimmed off the table. So not much back there.
Lux is quite powerful. We didn't discuss about the first strike, which is so interesting right now.
Very strong right now, yeah.
Yeah, removing the Lux kind of makes sense. She can use that, be either mid, be either support. You could have that burst bot line with both of those APs. The last one on the side of Vernon is going to be the Rel, so a lot of tankiness being removed on the other side. It should be more about the poke, so they can't land a Ziggs and a pushing line alongside him. It seems like that should be the deal. Venom Press removing what they can. But I like your idea. We have the Caitlyn, you have the Azir. Both of them can use that attack speed, that bonus, so they're comfortable.
Yeah, Darius away from Shihan, that's very much a pocket ban, and you don't. I don't hate that. I think that makes a lot of sense. We'll see what they want to lock in fourth here. Leona would make a lot of sense. It's really a jumped in priority as of late. Non-committal engage. You can try and catch the Ziggs or the Tristana out with having to jump super far in. Nautilus, of course, still right up there as a potential option. We'll wait and see whether that's just a hover or not. I think Asona would be a little bold despite some of the item changes.
Yes.
So we'll wait on that one for all the hover is fun. I think on top of that, you are now potentially looking at the sort of top lane options. Things like the Rumble are still up, but then you might be indexing a little too far into the AP side of things for however strong it is. It does have a pretty good access beyond something like Daisy, so you could look towards something like that. But the end result is you're still going to have to blind pick towards the top lane. And again, we are seeing hovers right now. I don't think we're seeing Janna top.
Xante is a big one.
I'm going to wait. Exactly. Mordekai's are up feeling pretty good as well. With the new
it's
changes,
Lenny,
but
right?
I think Xante would make a lot of sense. Exactly.
Oh,
so
his
the
Xante
Xante makes so much
so
sense.
good,
Yeah.
man. I still get goosebumps thinking about Lenny playing the Xante. So understandable lock-in. It's pretty safe. We know Lenny can pull it off. We know he can make it work. I'm excited to see, though, if Shihan has something off his pocket to try and counter it. The Renekton to try and bring the game to that Xante. Okay, I mean, certainly throwing some spice in there, bringing that in. I mean, not the biggest surprise, but certainly something that puts pressure on Shihan to do something early. Because if you fall behind, or even against the Xante, when you go into the later stage of the game, you'll have a lot less to say than you really should have had you pick something else, right?
It doesn't seem to be that out of the box, the pick and ban we just received from both teams. Interesting, a little bit of spice, but it seems like it's the normal-ish. How would you folks feel about who's taking this one, the first one?
I think Venom Crest is slightly easier to execute on paper, purely because I think Caitlyn that doesn't win lane has a slightly tougher time, and you've got double-ranged scaling carries in the Tristana and the Ziggs behind that bulwark of a front line, plus very good siege. If you get a hold of Grubs or a Herald, that feels pretty good. But I don't think the draft is going to be so wildly set apart that neither team can win.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I'll really be looking at in this game is how do they set up these objectives. Is in particular when you have the Caitlyn, right? You want to get there first. 6, also a champion who likes to get there first and have that little area I can throw the bombs in and make it very hard for people to enter the area. So I'll really be looking at how those neutral objectives go and who's able to get there first and play best around their timers. I will say though, I'm gonna have to go with Venom Crest here, and I'm gonna give them the edge simply just because if there's one of the things that I know will likely work out well in this game, it's Lenny and Cassante, and that's just what tips me over the edge. He's on my fantasy roster, for Christ's sake. I have to hope that he wins. So, yeah, I have to go Venom Crest, but I think this could become a very tight game.
Interesting. It's the first game of Summer Split, so I'm really excited as well as I toss it to the senior casters, Foxdrop and Old Man Hip Rain. How you doing?
I swear, me and Foxy are the same age, right? Like,
and isn't he older than both of us?
Yeah. First of all, he's giga old. Like, he's literally withered away.
He is ancient.
How old are you? You're 30, right? You're
31.
I'm 30. I'm almost 31.
It's my,
all right, yeah,
it's my birthday.
There are
May, so.
there are a bunch of senior citizens on this show. To be fair, I can't.
We are boomers.
Also,
it's true.
in Archer's defense, he probably just kind of forgot in his own old age that you were older than me. Hello, everybody.
Good
now
one.
we're done having our little whinge. Welcome to the first day of games here at the Summer Split at the NLC. I'm curious to your thoughts on this Champ Select. I'm really big fan of what Venom Crest put together, but I'm curious to see what your kind of initial thoughts are and what we're going to be watching, at least in the early portion of this game.
Yeah, I think the one thing that stands out to me personally was right at the end, the last pick with Renekton into Cassante top. I'm never really a huge fan of this matchup, to be perfectly honest. I just feel like Renekton, you kind of have to do things early, you have to do things in the lane phase, and it's so hard to do that against Cassante, even with these new items coming through as well. Slight change with the Renekton build going more like an Eclipse Cleaver build sometimes can be quite good into tanks.
Yeah.
I still don't see it. I still think Cassante is ridiculous, and Lene, you know, he was so good last split. I think he was actually a top 3 top laner that we had, and despite his team being not so good. And Cassante was his best champion, so I think that's going to be a bit of a difficult area, honestly, to attack right there. I'm curious with the grabs coming through as well, whether or not having a lack there could just mean you bleed the whole top side and get that split push going early.
Well, it sounds like we are ready to get into this first game of the day between Venom Crest and Verdant. See who's going to come out on top. I'm well excited for this one. A hype just to come back to us. I'm curious actually, because obviously mid-season update has changed a fair amount. I'm curious for your thoughts as a jungler, because I've seen a lot more junglers be happy as of late. I'm curious, you know, what are you making of this current patch?
Yeah, honestly, I think farming as a jungler seems to be very hot right now. And it's reflected a little bit in the champion pool as well. We saw Karthus and just burn build champions being really strong too, like the AP junglers. But I think I don't want to natter on. I think we're actually okay to get into game.
Do we have to do the video again, or we just go straight into the game? Let's find out. Are we gonna cut? That's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's not the players, by the way, if you're wondering.
Oh,
no.
Yeah. Oh,
it was right the first time, so, you know, we're just
testing the next one. That's what it is.
Yeah. Although I don't think... Is Fastleg in that league again? That's kind of cool.
I don't know. That's a cool skin.
The Rel skin, yeah.
It's not Rel. That's Leona.
Oh, you're right. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, I thought so. I was like, yeah. No, it's very gacha. Do you know what I mean? It's very mobile game gacha.
It is actually. Yeah, it really is.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, no, it's cool. It's cool. I like it. But yeah, Leona Caitlyn is a very strong combo as well. So we might be seeing a lot of that down bot side. Obviously, with the setup from Leona, all the stuns coming through, Caitlyn with the traps. A lot has changed with the itemization coming through from spring now into summer. And ADC's crit items are grotesque. It is
not horrific. Okay. It is not okay.
No, and Caitlyn's probably the worst defender. She really is disgusting, and she can like two-shot people. And there's Ziggs, there's Tristana. So Ziggs especially low mobility. You can get hit with that solar flare or any kind of engage really, and it could be bad news bears for Ziggs, especially since he has no barrier, right? He's gone for that TP.
Yeah, and he kind of struggles until the Lost Chapter comes in to really get full control of the lane and the wave state, where someone like Caitlyn, she's one of the champions that has, if we're going not off broken items, has a pretty strong early couple of levels where she can really shove you in and harass you, especially paired up with something like a Leona. But then eventually has a bit of a power trough and then scales into the late game. But honestly, with the new items, that power trough is not that noticeable anymore. It's pretty brutal, actually.
Yeah, I agree fully. It's gross. Like, you have like Collector, Infinity Edge as like, well, I guess Infinity Edge is really where it's at. Sometimes Kraken's there as well. But like, just the burst damage, I don't even know how it works out. It's happened to me where I've literally been two-shot. I was like a Jarvan with 3,000 health, and like I generally got two-shot by like a 3 and 5 Caitlyn or something. I was like, what? Like, I thought it was a bug, man. I generally thought I'd been bugged by something there, but her damage is just absolutely insane. So 100% something to pay attention to.
That was kind of sick, actually. He pulled that off real good.
He did.
Real good.
Code Q. Beautiful stuff.
Big fan of that one. Yeah, it's funny because Caitlyn, they nerfed her like AD scaling to kind of directly deal with the lethality issue on her, and still she builds Collector first. It's absolutely crazy. Anyway, this will just turn into mid laner and jungler complain about ADCs for the entire game. So let's look outside of the AD carry area right now, because you've got, a fairly interesting mid lane in the sense that we have the Azir popping up here versus the Tristana. Obviously, Azir, again, a bit like the Ziggs, gonna kind of need a little bit of time before he can able to really just like one-shot waves and deal with that with the Tristana. Fierce here is just going to be shoving, and with the explosive charge, you're going to be able to take a lot of plate damage. It's going to be really interesting to see, the state of how this lane's going to be playing. To be fair to Harvo, has done a pretty decent job of keeping the lane in a relatively neutral state for him. It is somewhat shoved towards him, but not in a problematic way at the moment.
This is the thing with Azir, right? He's kind of picked as the great equalizer in that mid lane, especially when he has bone plating like you saw there. Like, the thing is with Tristana, she wants to constantly push. She wants that constant pressure, but we've got to dive in top lane. Lenny's in trouble.
This is the old Renekton classic. You put an Elisa on Ivern with Renekton going for a very early tower dive. You've got the shields with the Ivern. Easy lockdown, and Lenny unfortunately does go down, and he is on his signature champion. Duckling is right. This guy, probably one of the top Renektons in the league. Not Renekton, sorry. Casantes in the league. Looks really good on this champion. Unfortunately getting caught out by that dive, but actually has the Q charged up. Shinyon could get himself in a bit of danger here. Is able to avoid and evade getting caught out too heavily there. And Lenny actually going to hold the wave here to stop Shinyon from resetting. That's actually really rough.
What is she coming up to? This could be a gank on Shihan here. He could be in trouble. He's being pinged out, though. They know he's there. Yeah, just going to walk away from that one instead. He is safe. So that wave's not in the greatest spot for Shihan, but it's all good. I did say, coming into this game, I was a little bit worried about the Renekton into the Cassante, and so far it's worked out pretty well. But unfortunately, there's still more to do, to be honest. Cassante is just one of those champions. Like, this isn't enough, right? This isn't enough. Like, this lead right here shouldn't really translate to too much as this game goes on. And Shihan's going to have to keep going. But you remember old Shihan from his Ruddy days, Jake. You might not, because you're not great with names. But Mr. Spin the Block, baby, in that top lane. This is him, and he is he. Let's see whether he can keep making that work. So far, a lot of pressure towards this top side, which might just translate to these grubs that will be spawning pretty quickly here. I'm actually not sure how Ivan deals with grubs, actually. I don't know how the interaction works. It's like
not
three
great
different things. Like, yeah, I can imagine that's pretty tough. I don't know. I've not seen that before.
I mean, your jungle pets can do a lot of damage for you, right? So you've got at least that to kind of go with, but jungle pet scales off pretty much every stat in the game. I think cooldown is like the only one it doesn't scale with, which funnily enough is Dopamine. I say words.
Dopamine, I don't know.
Dopamine.
Yeah.
We'll call him Dopamine for now. It's what he has got. So it's like the only stat that he's not actually scaling off right now. He'll probably realistically need Shihan to come with him, and yeah, Mr. Spin the Block on top of the crabs will be able to deal with that. But you can see the Venom Crest very smartly recognized. There's an Ivern on the other side. odds are he's not going to be able to quickly do the grubs. He has gone over to start them right now, but in this time, they're going to be easily able to get this first dragon under their belt and potentially rotate over with Fierce to make sure, because as you can see, Dubbin not doing too great of a job here on them. Now Shiwan shows up, and it should be an easy grab.
Be a dive bot, however, though, for Venom Crest onto Verdant. And Caitlyn and Leona, they spotted it out. We'll be okay for now. Not too much happening here instead. And yeah, just trading these neutral objectives, which is something I think you'll be seeing quite a lot, to be honest. The dragon does spawn a minute earlier than the grubs. So it is that change was there to incentivize maybe a little bit of contesting over both, rather than always having to handshake and just choose which one you want to go for. But you'll probably still see mostly like this, right? You'll see one team go for the dragon, the other team go for the grub, depending on which side is their strong side. And it makes a lot of sense for Verdant here, obviously, with Shihan in that top, getting a lot of pressure down to just go for those grubs instead. Dopamine now positioning for another dive. Here comes Daisy to tank the turret.
Oh, that's really nice, actually. They got him with the lockdown as well. They're going to bring him back. Sheehan finding a lot of damage put into him as Lenny finds the kill. Now chasing in onto the Ivern, but Daisy's doing some work. Is going to get sent back, but the knockout comes in. Lenny low HP, able to survive just about, but in comes the Sedge. Not going to be able to get in range. And Theo, not going to be able to make any more of a play, but Lenny 1 versus 2. Technically 3 versus 1 with the Daisy there. Beautiful play.
Very nicely done. There he is, Mr. Cassante himself, starting off this summer split the way he ended spring, being a Cassante god. Trying a little bit too hard, though, I think, Verdant, just to try and put Lenny down. This Renekton pick really does want to get things going early. You can see it looks like Shihan is going for the early cleaver, which makes sense against champions that like to stack armor in the early stages of the game. I'm not convinced it would be enough. And then in that situation, you're going to want to turn your eyes to the rest of the map. Harbo on that Azir really is just playing the nullification game. He's got a grasp of the Undying, for goodness sake.
Oh, I didn't even notice that one.
As well, I know. He's just not, he's not trying. He's just trying to make Tristana like not really be a factor in this early game. Because Tristana can be a real pain when she's pushing constantly over and over these waves, just shoving with that E. And then you pick her up from mid and chuck her around the rest of them. But in this situation, you can see really good notification from Harbo. Bot side, though, similarly, they're always under their tower too. It's hard for Dopamine right now. You can see this wave pressure, this lane pressure starting to leak into his jungle. Fortunately, he's an Ivern, right? He doesn't care too much about being put behind. He is a support as far as support jungles go. He's probably the most supporty jungler. But a lot of pressure here now from Venom Crest. You can start seeing it come on through.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a waiting game, I think, before the next round of neutral objectives come up. Obviously, with the scuttles spawning up at some point soon. Got 2 minutes until the dragon spawns up as well. Expect to see, another potential trade or even a potential players. Harvey just getting a little bit of damage off on the Fierce. Nothing too major right now. Still early days. Has got the new burn item, which I can never remember the name of.
Fated Ashes.
Fated Ashes, thank you.
Yeah.
In his inventory. So Blackfire Torch coming in as the first item there for Harvey.
Yeah,
actually, it could be Leandry still, but I'm assuming it's going to be.
Yeah, it could be. The reason why Blackfire is normally the first one is because it's cheaper to start with. It also gives you mana, like builds out a Lost Chapter.
Yeah.
So it's it's good for that lane phase, so you can every mage drops a little bit of mana finding their abilities. And also Leandry is a little versatile thing. Leandry increases your damage by a percentage, and when you're doing like 100 damage, increasing your damage by like up to 6% isn't that much. And when you're doing like 10,000 damage, suddenly that percentage means a little more. So Leandry is not the greatest rush item, not the greatest first item, but
there are a lot of people
there. The Blackfire Torch. Yeah,
I don't think anybody has. And yeah, thank you for the toggle observer. No one has any information of where the others are. You got Dopa and Colm on the bottom side, and then you've got Simply and Theo on the top side. There is a small powder keg that could be lit at any moment there in the mid lane, but it does look like with the objectives spawning up, they are just going to move away. And actually, Venom Crest have turned their attention towards Lenny on the top side. He gets a great pullback up to Shihan. Shihan not going to be able to live this one. Down they go. Beautiful little pickup there as Lenny equalizes the score for the early ganks.
I think this is you have to know better. If you're Verdun right here, you're hovering around mid side, but you're hovering the bottom side of the map, right? You don't have control of the top side. It's dark. You should be able to infer that that's where Venom Crest are positioned, and Shihan should know that. You know, he should know that he's going to be in trouble there. Could get knocked over the wall.
Oh, lovely escape. Oh, the hook onto Simply forces him to flash away. In comes Daisy. Teleports come down. Solar Flare does make its mark as Daisy gets a little bit of damage off onto Fierce. Fierce actually getting bullied heavily here, but is going to cause Lenny to teleport down. Nothing more really comes of that, but Venom Crest do get themselves a couple of grubbies under their belt as well, so it's 3 for 3. Meanwhile, Dopamine going to turn his attention with Daisy towards the Dragon. The potential answer could come out, but it looks like it is going to be a no. Venom Crest going to step away from this one.
Give him another handshake of objectives. Most likely, as long as he's in the area. Yeah, we're around to contest.
They have
Can
vision.
we do it?
Nah. I'm glad they didn't. That would have been a little bit. That would have been a definite flash burn, or at least a kill.
Yeah, it would have been tough for sure to get that. And at the end of the day, you're just flipping it there. Most likely anyway. And just to note, by the way, Jake, I think you're on the money. It is actually Luden's, I always say this, Leandri's first item.
Interesting.
Most likely mid lane. Haunting Guys coming through. I think that's still called Haunting Guys. I don't know.
Yes, it is.
Its name. I think it is, yeah. Ooh, Fierce going aggressive against the...
Oh, no! Down he goes. Harbo!
Oh,
no way! Gets away with it! Has to burn the flash, but... Man, that was close. 88
bone
HP.
plating, baby. Bone plating. Maybe get some plates of a different kind though here in the mid lane. The Demolish as well for Tristana. Bloody hell, it's just such a... So gross, isn't it?
It is rough.
When an AD carry gets stuck in mid lane and then picks Demolish. Yeah, I think you can infer what the strategy is with that pick there. And despite Harbour's best efforts, that's 3 plates now for Tristana in that mid lane. So not too bad. They got a little bit of gold. Venom Crest now 1,000 gold in the lead, despite it being behind early after those top lane plays. But a 2-level gap, what you're staring out here on that top side, is pretty bad for Verdun. Not too positive. It's the Renekton who wants to be in this situation at this point in the game, and just not finding it work this way around.
Thing to note as well, right now, just having a look at the items that are coming in. Harbo did finish up his Leandri, so confirmed, even though he had the Haunting Guy, so that was already pretty much confirmed off that single item. There is a Bladed Ruin King onto Fierce, their first item, so not going Kraken Slayer. I think recognizing that this is a Grasp of the Undying on top of Harbo here, as they're just going to go toe-to-toe, shuffles him under the tower, knowing if that's pop. They've even got Ace in the hole coming in. Theo's going to block it. Make sure they're not going to get too much damage down, but in comes the Solar Flare. Not going to fully connect, so everyone is going to scurry away from that. Infinity Edge by X-Drop as his first item. Obviously, the power in Infinity Edge is it empowers your crits. You've only got a 25% chance to crit with that item at the moment, so it's not going to be every shot. It's theoretically 1 in 4 shots will get empowered by that, but you get a headshot for crits. Whew,
Yeah,
that's got a lot of damage.
yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, this is why it was always a bad rush item, Infinity Edge, because it empowers your crits, and when you only have 1 item, you don't have that much crit. But it gives you 80 AD at this point.
Yeah, it's a lot of AD.
It's a huge amount of AD. We're going to get engaged by mid.
Fierce is in danger. He's able to hop away. The Ignites on the burn from the Leandries as well. Is it enough? No! 38 HP. Slivers away from that one. Both mid laners just so lucky this game. Playing it very, very close to the wire. Verdun are going to turn their attention towards this Rift Tail. It'll be a nice and easy pickup here. Everybody's in the area to make sure this happens, even X-Drop. But they are going to give up a tower for that on the bot side, so they need to make sure that the trade is going to be worth it in the long run.
Exactly. It's the first time that Verdun have been able to pick up an objective uncontested and not traded for another neutral objective, but it's not always neutrals that you care about when you're playing League of Legends, right? Minion waves, turrets, these are a thing as well. And those two specifically, Lingard got a huge advantage in that bot side. Like, he crashed, I think it was 2 or 3 maybe waves even in the bot tier 2, and he killed that the tier 1 tower there as well. So good stuff still being returned here for Venom Crest. So it's not quite as bad as just losing that Herald for free. But really, Herald is a bit of an unknown quantity when it comes to its value because, you know, what do we get from it? Where are we going to put it down? Can we get a tower from it? What kind of charge are we going to get? We'll have to see how Verdant pilot this one. It is Dopamine on the Ivan, who has Shelly's reins in his back pocket.
Yeah, just looking at Fierce, was having a shove in on that top side. Obviously, with the Demolish, with the explosive charge, we'll be able to finish the tower up pretty easy. You can see that Lingard actually, that tower is in execution range. He just needs to get in range to press W on it. And it feels like Verdant aren't letting this happen. So that's why Fierce rotated down to make sure there's enough people in the area that Lingard can get in range to land that W. But they don't have complete vision. Are getting a whole bunch of damage down onto Karmsky. It's going to be able to get inside that bush and stay nice and safe. But it's very hard for Lingard to get in range of this tower with the bushes, with 4 people defending. And they're having to spend a lot of resources to make sure that Lingard doesn't pop this tower in one.
Here comes the Herald, slap down. It's a 4v4 mid. Lene is on the way. He has the first move.
Harbo's
as well.
inside. A Harbo?
What?
That was... What? I think he might have misclicked that one because Lenny's coming in with the ghost. Karmsky's going down. Fierce is able to get himself the reset on the W. Will be able to chase forward if he wants. Not going to be able to find that one. It's Shelly. Very, very badly played there by Harbo. I think what happened was Harbo was clicking in the area and accidentally got inside and then panicked mid-jump.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
I think when you're inside Shelly and she charges onto a turret, she actually bounces you like really far back, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't drive Shelly a lot, you probably don't know that. So Harbo got in. I was like, holy crap, I don't want to be on the tower when I get out of this thing. I'm going to bonk it into the wall next to it so that I'm safe. When he actually would have been safe anyway because of the launch pack. So, yeah, not ideal. And this is it. This is what I said, right? Like the relative value of Shelly is quite hard to measure because it really just depends what you get out of that charge. And I'm going to go on a leg here. Yeah, you can say that was pretty crap. So,
yeah,
the value
that was
of Shelly, not too high in this game.
That was pretty poo. I'm not going to be honest. I'm not going to lie to you there, mate. That was a bit of a misplay coming in from Harbo. But we'll have to see if he's going to be able to make it up here for the side of Verdant. Because right now, gold lead quite comfortably in favor of Venom Crest. And Fierce got a lot of pressure here in this top side. Although Harbo, with this Leandries, is actually able to do quite a lot of damage to Fierce. Just slowly whittling him down with the burns, with the grass procs. He's doing a really good job of managing it. And like you said, the great neutralizer neutralizes once again. And it does look like Venom Crest now just going to rotate round as a 4-man. Try and see if they can take this tower down. It's one satchel away again. Lingard's making his way up. He's just going to be able to pop this. No tower to hide to. Harbo comes in with a shuffle, knocks a couple of back, but does get Buster shot away. Teleport's coming in. They're going to get the ace in the hole onto Simply as Harbo's putting the damage into Fierce. Is able to almost finish him up here. Just about. Fierce is able to get the kill onto that one as now Venom Crest to find themselves in the middle of everything. Simply goes down. So does Sheehan, picked up as well. The bomb comes in from Lingard onto 3. Karmsky going very, very low. Teleport coming back in from Fierce to rejoin into the fray. X-Drop trying to get some a bit of additional damage down on to Eleni, but he's not going to be able to do too much there. Fierce secures the kill with that freshly bought BF sword. And this is going very, very rough here for the side of Verdant.
Yeah, it's a tough one already. You don't want to be losing this stage of the game, though, if you're Verdant either. You've kind of picked a team that would like to have had some more of that early pressure, you know, with that Caitlyn having that natural strength there as well, and obviously the Renekton in the top side, but it's just not happening. On the plus side, the scaling isn't too bad either. I consider these new items, new crit items, to be something that's kind of shifted ADCs, I guess, into actually spiking on like 2 items now, where they're not really tapering off as the game goes on either, especially against squishier team comps and when you have an Ivan on your team. So yeah, there's still hope here for Verdant, but at this point they would hope to be in a much better state. This is what their team comp was built to, not to be in this situation at 20 minutes. But a great team fight there from Venom Crest. Is now almost a 5,000 gold lead. Pretty significant for this one here.
It looks like X-Drop's just kind of using his ult to farm his first strike gold, get himself a power spike through just constantly ulting off cooldown and effectively just being able to ult get as much gold as possible. Has got the buildings of that Lord Dom second coming in, and I think once you've got that with the Infinity Edge, that's 50% crit thanks to the new item changes. Suddenly, Infinity Edge skyrockets in value once you've got that 50% crit. I mean, right now, I think it's 35, 40. I can't remember how much Agility Cloak gives on its own. It's quite a lot. It's quite valuable. But as you see, doesn't crit on Lenny. Doesn't do all that much damage. Lenny is very strong, though. He's got 2 full armor items and the boots as well, actually. So I don't think X-Drop's going to be doing much to him for a bit.
Yeah, Cloak of Agility is 15% by itself.
15,
so it's like
thank
40,
you.
40 right now on the Infinity Edge. Still waiting for some time here. And it's tough when, let's hold that thought there. Lenny's going really hard on the owner.
Yeah,
Daisy's doing her best on the side too.
Doing a pretty good job staying alive here. If they do just pop X-Drop, he is X-dropped. Next up, got a double kill here for the side of Lingard as they're looking for Harbo. Harbo is able to shuffle away and Dopamine with him. That's probably just going to be Baron.
That's brilliant. Well done, Jake. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
that.
Thank you for that one.
Good, yes, exactly as you mentioned. That is Nash now on the cards. Not too much here that Vernon can do to stop it, although Harbo and Dopamine looping around from the top side might try something here. Yeah, Stimpy though, playing interference, as is Fierce. Yeah, they're going to have to drop away from this one. It's going to be that team fight win, and alongside it, the Baron to Verdun. Not too happy about this from Venomcrest, in control firmly of this game. Dragon will be spawning too as well, turning their attention to that, which will put them on soul points. Very good stuff for their first game here in NLC Summer.
Absolutely. 5,000 gold in the lead here for Venomcrest. They started last season with an incredible game. Well, an incredible start to the season. If you remember, right, Venomcrest went undefeated for, I think, the first 3 weeks. Looking to start off strong in this next season as well. As Dopamine is going to be able to pick himself up a camp, but at what cost? A flash burnt is that cost as the traps come down from X-Drop. Not wanting to get himself caught out, and now has got himself that next item, got another agility cloak, and suddenly that Infinity Edge has become a lot higher value. You are going to be able to get a lot more damage off that, but the problem is are you too late at this point?
For sure, like two items now, it's like, even though you've got this Lord Doms here, like, can you even kill Lenny? I mean, probably not. I kind of understand why you've had to go for a second item, but I really do have to keep doing more stalling if they want to get into this. But Venomcrest, massive credit to them, honestly. Like, they found a little bit of a lead. They got that good team fight, and since then, their foot has just been fully on the pedal. Like, what have they picked up since then, right? They had a good team fight, which then led to a follow-up team fight, which got to Baron, which got to Towers. Now we're going to get another Dragon here as well. Like, they've really just suffocated Verdun out of this game. Verdun kind of gave them an inch, and Venomcrest took a mile, and it's really good to see this confidence coming through from a team so early on here in the split.
Yeah, it really is. And now it looks like this tower will be coming down from Venomcrest. Satchel's down, Pops goes to tower. Lingard's going to base. In the meantime, Theo able to pick up a Dragon. That's Dragon number 3 for Venomcrest, so closing in on that Hextech Soul. And this gets scary. You've got Tristana, who's scaling in the range. You've already got the Ziggs, who just has a lot of base range. Suddenly, those auto attacks, those bombs are slowing you with a big AoE burst, a lightning charge that hits everyone. And that gap gets closed real quick by Lenny and Theo off the back of that. So this is getting quite scary for the side of Verdun. Next Dragon, they're going to have to fight this.
They're going to try.
Yeah, they can try.
I'm not quite sure whether it's going to work out. That's actually an interesting interaction as well that I didn't think of, is Ivan and Caitlyn. You can put the bush down on Caitlyn so that her passive stacks up faster.
Oh, yeah, forget that.
Yeah, not sure. Yeah, we'll remember. Well, whether we'll see it do too much this game, but it is a potential right there. As Venomcrest looking for their 3rd tower on this Baron power play.
Oh, jumping in. They're going to get all the damage off onto Kamsky. Kamsky flashes away. They do get the traps. They do get the lockdown. X-Drop remains untouched. It's going to be able to clear the wave away at this point as Baron drops off. A lot used there to stay alive. But ultimately, Verdun are able to weather that storm. Dropping a couple of towers. All of their towers outside the base off the Baron, though. So Venomcrest overall were able to use that Baron effectively. Remember, most people use Baron to take the outer towers, and then the base towers for that second Baron.
Exactly. And now there's a little bit of peace here for Verdun before they have to really step out onto the map and start contesting. At this point, the next objective that Venomcrest takes is probably going to be the death knell for Verdant, and Verdant should know that. But it's not exactly a situation where they can contest either, though they might feel like they have to, and correctly feel like they have to. You know, this dragon is spawning in 3 minutes time. Nash is going to be coming up pretty shortly as well in a few minutes. Verdant still need way more time than, you know, 3, 4, 5 minutes. We're talking like 10, 15 before these guys will start being able to contest, most likely.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to get that time though, Jake. It's looking kind of rough right here.
It is very, very rough for them. I mean, you've got the Navori, the Blades, the Infinity Edge on Fierce finished up almost level 16. So a lot, or now level 16, a lot of range is going to be available to them. You've got the Crypt Bloom, the Seraphs, the Horizon Focus on Lingard. You know, these are big spikes on these champions. And on the other side, Verdant, you just finished the Collector onto X-Drop, so he is tied in items to Lingard, or technically half an item behind. Whereas Harbo only completed 1 full item due to them having a sidetrack and pick themselves up this arm guard just to survive the threat of Fierce.
It's tough, isn't it, when you have to build defensive, but at the same time, then you're left with 0 damage. And again, it's why they need way more time than 3 minutes. That Seeker's Arm Guard now, just to get the stopwatch. You know, if this was last season, then Harbo could buy a stopwatch for 650 gold, but now we have to spend 1,600 on that Seeker's Arms Guard to get the stopwatch effect. So I personally really like that change. It was annoying just spending, you know, like just over 500 gold to get such a powerful active. Even though you could only use it once, it was still so valuable.
Yeah.
But Harbo is certainly not a fan of that change, at least not right now in this game. Struggling here with a bit of a bargain bin build here. And not, oh, there comes the Nash's Tooth though, so a little bit happier. 2.5 items coming through for him. See if he can contribute in this next team fight.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see. I'm assuming he's going to go for Zhonya's next, because Zhonya's part of the changes which, you know, do negate the increase of the Seeker's Arm Guard being your stopwatch item, is the fact that you get a lot of AP on that item now. It's part of it's got a Neither Star Rod in it. I think is it 100 AP?
It's 100 or 120. It's
yeah, it's a
massive.
lot of AP.
Yeah.
You get a lot from it. So item-wise, it's good value for money, but you can't really use that value for money when you don't have control of the river. And Venomcrest, with Fierce and Theo, that's all they need to just absolutely liquefy this Baron. I mean, that's a 3-item Tristana. You're going to absolutely destroy that, and there's not really much they can do. Even going to bomb the wave to make sure that this doesn't get lost. They don't lose too much to that mid-wave. And they may trade the Dragon out here from Venomcrest, and I think that's okay for them. They got a bit of time, though, to reset and get on the map. It's a Hextech Soul, so they can actually use the portals. They're back.
This timing, it's not great for Verdant here. They can't trade it at all, so Verdant, rock and a hard place, having to give up Baron, but not having anything to trade. They picked up a few waves in mid, and here we go. Here comes the fight.
Keep your eyes on X-Drop, for now he's able to use those bushes and get a lot of damage off onto Lenny, but we are going to see the shuffle come back from Harbo. Harbo has that stopwatch. He's going to get kidnapped for the moment. He's not going to use the stopwatch yet. Holds himself alive for now. The stopwatch is already used. I'm an idiot, but in comes Fierce, putting the damage onto X-Drop, but Fierce goes down. X-Drop gets himself all of the kills before finally falling apart. Simply chased down by Sheehan as Mr. Spin the Block is going to finish him up. Lingard, the only member standing, limps away after clearing the wave out. So beautifully played by Harbo and X-Drop to get as much damage off before going down. Lingard jumped into the Seraph is popped, but he is burning low. Harbo secures himself the shutdown, and Verdant, just like that, are back in the game.
Massive team fight win there for Verdant. Beautifully played, especially from X-Drop. The amount of damage he was putting forward there. Lenny died before the fight even really began, and I can't believe I'm saying that when we look at the items of this man's build. Crazy amount of damage coming through from the Caitlyn. These tanks really melting, and once that happens, like, there's a lot of tanky members on Venomcrest. Obviously, you've got the top lane, the jungler, and the support. That only really leaves 2 carries left to deal out the deeps. And without people protecting them, as you saw, Fierce had to jump into the middle of the entire Verdant team just to trade X-Drop away. It's a difficult situation here. I thought this game was dire straits for Verdant, but that team fight was so well played. There's hope now. There's hope for the green team here.
I think the problem for Venomcrest there was because they had reset 2 of their members, the other 3 were on the other side of the mid lane from their team, so that fight was able to get started, and Vernon were able to kind of fight with an advantage in the fact that they just had their numbers clumped together. And it took a moment for Venomcrest to kind of get themselves together. And in that time, X-Drop just played it really well. There was a lot of bushes. And like you said, you get double stacks on your passive as the Caitlyn. And just due to the amount of bushes down, they were getting way more headshots. Well, double the amount of headshots they would have been getting off the back of that. And Lenny, he's tanky. You know, he's got the 3 items. But now with the I can't remember how to pronounce it, Yuntao? Onto X-Drop. Yuntao, yeah, the bleed item. Now with that finished up, he's going to absolutely melt Lenny.
I want to also take a little note while we're talking about items of Ivan and Dopamine's items this game, because...
Caitlyn's online!
Oh, goodness. That's a reset. That's a quick trip back to spawn right there. Drink a few health potions from the fountain. My goodness. Yeah, just a quick note on the Ivan itemization. So the very first item Ivan went this game was the Mikhail's Blessing, the bell, the gong, which protects you from CC. And this, you know, there's Rani ult and stuff, and Nautilus has the most amount of CC in the game. He's got 5 forms of CC, which is huge, but basically, whereas it's a good item, it's not an optimal first item. Not that it was a bad choice, it just meant that Ivan was in a bit of like a, you know, not really doing Ivan things, not doing what he wanted to do. But now that he's also got, he's got the Moonstone Renewer and the Ardent Sensor as well. These items are key for these team fights. The Ardent Sensor is making this Caitlyn just go insane. Stick-home mode whenever he gets a shield from Ivan. The Moonstone Renewer as well. These huge shields coming through. We were able to see X-Drop pop off in that last team fight, and he played it very well. And having a pocket Ivan there to help you out, even better. We might just see it again here.
Yeah, Theo on the run. They are going to get some damage off, but Daisy just being a nuisance. Lenny is going to get knocked up as he knocks back Daisy. Daisy going very low, though. Theo should be able to finish this one off. And that's one of the frontline tools used. Meanwhile, Fierce is getting some pretty significant damage to that tower. Meanwhile, the fight is actually looking to break out by Simply, but they're not actually going to be able to get it. So they do run off, and see Harbo not able to defend the tower in time, so an open inhib in the base. Venomcrest were able to successfully waste enough time of Verdant there to get something on the map.
Not too bad. See if Venomcrest can still split open the map.
Oh, he's level 16 now. Oh.
Yeah, very nice.
Oh my god.
He gets like, I think it's about like 40 gold every time he presses R as well, which is, you know, it's not like Karthus with first strike, but it's something, I guess, considering it has a much slower cooldown. Yeah, every time you press R, Caitlyn forces someone to recoil if it's a squishy. It's pretty gross.
I mean,
sorry,
got 2 levels of AD to go to increase that, and an item.
Yeah.
Like this only gets worse for Lingard.
I wonder if he's gonna get Zhonya's with that last item. Maybe. I don't really think of Ziggs as a particularly Zhonya's hungry champion, seeing as he's so far away, such a long range champ. That's what keeps him safe instead. But that armor wouldn't go amiss, to be honest.
No, wouldn't she? And actually jumping forward there. Do you see Dopamine actually take quite a lot of damage from Lingard's bomb? Daisy even gets summoned up as they're putting traps down, so you can see Verdant want to get some level of control in the area, but at the moment unable to do so. X-Drop's about to get an ultimate back, and if that hits Lenny or Theo, it's alright, but if that hits anyone else, realistically, they're going to have to look to reset or potentially get taken down. Now, you can see that Fierce is trying to split push on the bottom side of the map, but they are getting these supported teleports coming down immediately. X-Drop, he's going to get himself ulted, hit by the bomb, but it does nothing through the shield of the Ivan. Daisy, losing a lot of HP, is able to knock up one. They find the lockdown. They're going to throw everything onto Fierce. He gets hit by the ace in the hole. X-Drop able to avoid himself from getting caught out as Dopamine's just doing his best to stay alive, but down he finally goes. Harvo sends a couple of players back. Lenny's keeping the pressure up. X-Drop's trying to finish up Lenny, but Lenny finally shut down by him as Sheehan is getting finished up by Fierce, and it is only X-Drop left standing. Can he do the damage to Simply necessary? I don't think he can, and it's just going to be his base that will be forfeited here. Hexgate to try and get away from Simply, but no one's going to be alive, and Venomcrest, they just needed that one good fight to be able to blow this whole thing open. Down goes tower number 1. Down goes tower number 2. X-Drop does show up to try and stop this one, but he's not going to be able to do too much. Almost finishes up Lingard, but down goes the Nexus. Game number 1 of the season goes to Venomcrest.
Venomcrest, they had a very good early, well, post 10 minutes of this game. Little bit of a shaky team fight, but not quite enough there to pull the comeback for Verdant. You can see in that last team fight, to be honest, like Verdant's team comp, they want Venomcrest to go towards them, and then Venomcrest kind of like pull back, shimmy back a little bit, Ivan shields and Caitlyn things and traps and stuff like that. But it was the Ivan who flashed forward, tried to flash engage and catch the Tristana. And you did get the root and it was cool, but the rest of the team wasn't there to bundle on. And so then you've got like this mix between going forward, going back. It just doesn't work. And as such, Venomcrest take the fights and take the game.
I will give it to Verdant. I think that was an honourable stand considering how doomed that looked in the mid game, but they came back and fought that very, very well. Venomcrest, though, they lost one fight and then they were like, no more, and they played every other fight from that really, really well. First game goes over to Venomcrest. We're going to throw ourselves to a quick break, and then we're back. We'll have our analyst test to break that game down a little bit more. See you in a moment.
Shockwave! What a Gnarls! Oh my word! They are melted! They are down! A wipe coming in from the side of light side. Both of them now gone. The soul has been denied, but the fight not yet decided. Lenny in the front line though takes so much damage in the back line. Yankee having fun with his opponents. Triple kill for Rusty Sniper.
Finds the re-engage into the multi-man counter-strike.
Lenny's going for it. Gets the free man in the jump. Zubak stealing form after form. Raptors going down. EMP can't deal with Deadhound as they crumble.
The pick in the clutch when it needed to happen. Torrent jumping back in. Booty able to know where to. Here comes Ed with the multi-man drowsy. It's mounted soul for running. And here comes the Ezreal. Torrent has already been able to take out the enemy support. But the damage from running is too much. Silky smash through the left line side. There's too many people here for you to handle.